Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Mozart's Nozze di Figaro, which was live from the Bayerische Staatsoper. The conductor was Konstantinos Karidis, the production was done by Christof Loy, the sets were done by Johannes Leiacker, the costumes were done by Klaus Bruns, the lights were handled by Frank Erfin, the dramaturgy was handled by Daniel Menne, and the chorus master was Stellario Fagone. I was anticipating this particular production of Nozze di Figaro because of the star-studded cast, not only headed by the likes of such veterans like Christian Gerhaha as Il Conte d'Almaviva and Alex Esposito as Figaro, but also a couple of sopranos whose names I've mainly heard of but have never heard them sing or even see how they acted. And those were Federica Lombardi as La Contessa d'Almaviva and Olga Kulchinska as Susanna. I'll gladly talk about the performances much later in this review, but first, my thoughts on the production. Overall, I found it to be quite typical of any production done by Christof Loy. Minimalistic, and also focusing on how the characters relate to each other and also the psychology of each of the characters. What's quite interesting about the sets in this particular production of Nozze di Figaro is that we see a small stage to show a couple of puppets interacting with each other, probably to show that Figaro, Susanna, the Count, and the Countess are basically like the puppet masters. And of course, Figaro is the main puppet master behind everything that happened. And of course, according to some interviews, it also states that even though this is Figaro's show, it's the women that mainly revolve the action. And the main women happen to be the Countess and Susanna because they know that they love their husbands so dearly. And of course, their fidelity and their strong will managed to make the entire opera go forward. And I also noticed that the lighting is kind of frigid, as in it looks rather icy, it looks rather pale, and I would have loved to have a little bit more variety in the lighting. But the costumes looked pretty nice on each of the singers, especially that of Cherubino. Cherubino in this particular production starts off as completely male, as if though that he's still a very young boy, but much later in the opera, he has gotten in full touch of his feminine self, probably because it's to show the androgyny of this particular character, and probably to show the fact that yes, this character is in principle an entravesti role, but it's probably to kind of show him as someone who is not really conformed to one gender, but to different styles and different orientations. And Barbarina in this production doesn't really dress up so sweetly and innocently, but she dresses up quite loosely, with a little bit of tight-fitting clothing, probably to show that she can be a bit feisty, especially in front of Cherubino. And what's also interesting is that Marcellina in the second half of the opera sings a lead more akin to the likes of Schubert or Schumann. I'm sure this was meant to showcase Anne-Sofie von Otter's talents as a lead singer, because Madame von Otter has been specializing in a lot of lead for many years, aside from a lot of the pants roles she used to specialize in her younger years. So overall, I'm not really a major fan of this production, even though it does have some interesting moments here and there. The lighting could have used a little bit more work, as it was very frigid from beginning to end. But despite all that, some of the costumes and some of the concepts worked quite well in its favor. And now we get to the singers, starting off with Alex Esposito as Figaro. This is without a doubt one of his all-time signature roles. He's been singing this particular role in a lot of opera houses around the world, and of course, this role has become one of his calling cards. How he managed to embody Figaro is that he managed to embody him with a great amount of virility and charm, thus making him come alive as a character. He didn't go too over the top with his comedy, and of course, his singing was quite flawless. He was able to handle some of the rapid lines really well, and he was able to sing lyrically when he wanted to, but more than anything, he was extremely expressive. So, Mr. Esposito, I have to give you a great amount of kudos to your fine performance as Figaro, and hopefully there will be a lot more awesome roles for you to come. Then we have his Susanna, who was sung by a lovely young lyric soprano by the name of Olga Kulchinska. And after hearing her voice in this particular role, I have to say that this young woman has a magnificent future ahead of her. First of all, she has a silvery yet kind of weighty voice to make her stand out pretty well as a singer. She was able to sing her lines very well. She was able to have such a fine technique to her voice. And of course, she is absolutely charming on stage. With her lithe and slim physique, she was able to embody this role with this youthfulness and femininity, which made her come alive, not only as a singer, but also as a singing actress. She certainly has a very solid instrument, and I would love to see where her career will go, because she's still quite young, and I'm sure that with a lot of time and a lot of great development, she will definitely achieve greatness. Probably in the more lyrical roles like Antonia, Lucia Ashton, and maybe even Violetta Valeri from La Traviata, and even Gilda from Rigoletto. I would love to see where her career goes, because Miss Kulchinska has a great amount of potential for singing all of these fine lyric soprano roles. Christian Gerhache was a solid Conte Almaviva, with his trademark lyric baritone voice and his sense of style and elegance that he managed to give to his singing. I thought he was able to make this role come alive. He was able to make him quite brash in some moments and quite ill-tempered and hot-tempered, but also managed to give him a little bit of nobility to make this character stand out. He was able to sing everything so well. He was able to sing with such focus and cleanliness that I was quite hooked. He did a magnificent job in the role of the Count, and he also does deserve a fair amount of kudos. Federica Lombardi was gorgeous as the Countess. How she managed to sing both of her arias, Porgi Amor and Dove sono I bei momenti, was absolutely amazing. She has a lovely, clean, and well-focused, full lyric soprano voice. At first, I was quite skeptical because Federica Lombardi is still rather young, being in her mid to late 20s, and seeing her sing this type of role made me had my doubts, because she was still quite young, and of course, if you know me, I would prefer it when either a dramatic coloratura or a full lyric soprano sings this role, or any soprano who has gained a little bit of maturity throughout her career. With Federica Lombardi, she's still quite young, but boy does she manage to give a fine and elegant vocal performance. The way she was able to make her voice bloom so well was quite astounding. Sure, she kind of struggled a bit with her high C's, but that's a pretty small dent to pay for what is otherwise a fine and elegant performance of the Countess. Then we go to Solon Lavanant-Linke, who sang the page boy Cherubino, and I thought that she did a fine job with this role, with her light lyric mezzo voice and her great capabilities as an actress. She certainly gave Cherubino both his boyish nature and, of course, his slightly androgynous nature, thus making her a versatile singing actress. And she also looked rather charming in all of her costumes, whether it be her page boy costume, her disguise as a girl, or even that very last costume to show Cherubino's androgyny. She just looks fabulous in each of them. and it's all helped by a light, breezy, and lovely lyric mezzo voice, which was put to great use in his two arias, Non so più cosa son cosa faccio and Voi che sapete. She was an absolutely fine singer, and I would love to see where her career will go from here. Anna El-Khashem was lovely as Barbarina. For someone who's still in her early 20s, her voice seems to have that light lyric soprano bloom. She has a very fine technique to her voice, and of course, she is quite a charismatic singing actress. She was able to give Barbarina her feisty, spunky, and fun-loving nature, but at the same time, she was a wonderfully solid vocalist. She managed to do a very fine job singing Barbarina that I was very enthralled to see where her career is going to go. She is an amazing young talent with an equally fine lyric soprano voice and loads of potential. It really goes to show that Miss Anna El-Khashem has a brilliant future ahead of her, and I would love to see where her career will go because she has a lovely lyric soprano voice which has a lot of great potential for some wonderfully fine roles, and I'm sure that she will definitely reach wonderful heights. Paolo Bordogna was an absolute riot as Dr. Bartolo. He does underplay the comedic aspects of this role, but what he managed to do was give him a fair amount of dignity, a fair amount of wisdom, and also made him quite charismatic. Sure, part of me was not crazy about his rendition of his vengeance aria, La Vendetta, but I will have to give him loads of credit for what he managed to pull off. Yes, his voice is not a true bass baritone or a true basso cantante voice. It's more of a full-sounding comic baritone voice because he also sang the role of Figaro in Australia, and now he sings the role of the elderly Bartolo. And I thought he did a fine job characterization-wise. And in terms of his talents as a singer, especially when it comes to the buffo parts, he seems to be quite unparalleled. He was able to give a fine vocal performance, even though I would have loved to have a basso cantante sing this role. Regardless, I have to give Signore Bordogna loads of credit for his fine tour de force vocal works, and of course, his great capabilities as an actor. Anne-Sofie von Otter, who once upon a time sang Cherubino and kept it in her repertoire for quite some time, managed to be quite the riot as Marcellina. Sure, her voice does show a little bit of wear and tear, and sure, there were times that she was wobbling in certain areas, but the wobbles were not really that brutal. In fact, they were kind of few and far between. She still managed to keep that fine polish in her voice, which was so gorgeous and so lovely to listen to. And it should be no surprise that she did used to specialize in all of these trouser roles like Cherubino and Octavian before transitioning to more feminine roles like Carmen, Didon from Le Toyon, Brangina from Tristan und Isolde, Baltraute from Götterdämmerung, and many other feminine roles. And here, I thought she did a very fine job singing the role of the elderly Marcellina. She was able to be, as always, a wonderful singing actress, and even though there were slight wobbles in her voice in some occasions, I still have to say that her instrument still managed to maintain that pureness and richness that she was very well known for. Manuel Günther was an absolutely fine Basilio. With his light tenor voice and his fine capabilities as an actor, he was able to give a lot of enthusiasm and charisma to this character. Dean Power was quite hilarious as Don Curzio, because there were some moments where he made his character stammer in some areas, thus making the verbal comedy of this particular character quite evident. And of course, he was an overall reliable musician with his trademark light lyric tenor voice. Milan Silyanov was a robust Antonio with his strong stage presence and equally fine bass baritone voice. And special kudos has to go to the two singers who sang the two maidens, and those were Paula Jansits and Niamh O'Sullivan. So overall, the singing was exceptional. Not only from the veterans like Christian Gerhache, Alex Esposito, Anne-Sofie von Otter, and Paolo Bordogna, just to name a few, but also to the fresh faces of Anna El-Khashem, Solon Lavanant-Linke, Olga Kulchinska, and Federica Lombardi, just to name a few. Everyone went together, and it was definitely a fine ensemble work. The conducting done by Konstantinos Karidis may be a bit bombastic, but he managed to add in a lot of energy and flair to the orchestra, which should be no surprise as I also have the DVD of the Het Musiktheaters production of Die Entführung aus dem Serail, starring Laura Aiken, Moitza Erdmann, Kurt Riddle, Edgaras Montvidas, and Michael Smallwood, and he was also the conductor for that opera. And sure, even though I do find his conducting quite bombastic and quite over the top in some areas, I still have to say that he managed to put in a lot of energy, a lot of charisma, and a lot of enthusiasm to the orchestra, and of course, the orchestra and chorus of the Bayerische Staatsoper were absolutely fabulous. So overall, even though I was not a fan of Christof Loy's production of Le Nozze di Figaro, I still have to give it not only to him, but to his production team, all the singers, all the orchestra members, all the chorus members, and especially Konstantinos Karidis for doing such exceptional jobs in their own rights. And for those of you who caught this particular production of Mozart's Le Nozze di Figaro live from the Bayerische Staatsoper, what did you think of it? Did you feel like Alex Esposito led such a fine ensemble? Did you feel like there was a singer who stole his thunder? Or did you feel like there was something or someone that just didn't really measure up? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in next time for my review of Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales Yotsuya Gaiden. So until then, good night everybody and happy Halloween.